In the year 1615, a samurai named Haruto returned home from the chaos of the Osaka siege. His mind was still filled with the sounds of battle, the clashing of swords, the screams of warriors. For weeks, he could not sleep. He could not meditate, even sitting still felt impossible. His master, observing this struggle, took him to a small, empty room in the temple compound. The room had bare wooden floors, a single window that let in soft morning light, and nothing else. No decorations, no furniture, just space. "This is your dojo now," the master said, "not for fighting with swords, but for fighting the chaos in your mind." Haruto was confused, "But sensei, there is nothing here. How can I train in emptiness?" The master smiled. "That is exactly the point. The greatest training happens not when you add more, but when you remove everything unnecessary. A cluttered space creates a cluttered mind. A clear space allows clarity to emerge. Your external environment shapes your internal state more than you realize." For the next 30 days, Haruto spent 3 hours each morning in that empty room. At first, the stillness felt unbearable. His mind wandered constantly. He thought about his duties, his family, his fears. But slowly, day by day, something changed. The simplicity of the space began to calm the storm inside him. The emptiness outside created fullness within. By the end of the month, Haruto had found something he had lost in battle: his center, his focus, his ability to be fully present. This story reveals a powerful truth that the ancient samurai understood deeply. Your environment is not neutral. It either supports your highest work or sabotages it. The space where you spend your time, whether for work, study, creativity, or reflection, directly influences the quality of your thinking, the depth of your focus, and the excellence of your output. In today's world, where distractions multiply by the hour and our attention is pulled in countless directions, creating what we might call a modern dojo, a sacred focus space, has never been more essential. But here is what most people misunderstand. Creating a sacred focus space is not about having the perfect office, the most expensive equipment, or the most aesthetically pleasing surroundings. It is about understanding the principles that make a space truly conducive to deep work and deliberate practice. The samurai dojo was not luxurious. Often it was quite simple, sometimes even austere. Yet it was precisely this intentional simplicity that made it powerful. The first principle of the Dojo Method is what the Japanese call ma, the concept of meaningful emptiness. In Western culture, we tend to fear empty space. We fill our walls with art, our desks with objects, our rooms with furniture. We believe that more is better, that abundance equals success. But the samurai understood something different. They knew that emptiness is not absence, it is potential. An empty space is not lacking, it is ready. Ready for focus, ready for creativity, ready for the work that matters. When you look at a traditional Japanese room, you notice immediately what is not there. There are no piles of books, no stacks of papers, no collections of decorative items competing for attention. Instead, there might be a single scroll on the wall, a small arrangement of flowers, a low table. Each element has been chosen with intention. Each element serves a purpose. Nothing is accidental, nothing is excessive. This principle applies directly to creating your modern focus space. Begin by removing everything that does not serve your highest work. That stack of unread magazines, remove it. Those trinkets from various conferences, find them a home elsewhere. The multiple plants that require your attention, keep just one. The photographs of 20 different memories, choose the single image that most inspires you. Every object in your space should either support your work directly or nurture your spirit. Nothing else belongs. I learned this lesson the hard way. For years, I worked in what I thought was a functional office. My desk was covered with items. A coffee mug here, a stack of notebooks there, pens scattered across the surface, a lamp, a plant, a photo frame, sticky notes everywhere. I told myself I knew where everything was, that the chaos was organized in my mind. But when I finally cleared everything except my laptop, a single notebook, and one pen, something remarkable happened. My thinking became clearer. My writing became sharper. Tasks that used to take 2 hours now took 90 minutes. The reduction in visual clutter had created a dramatic increase in mental clarity. The second principle is what we might call territorial sacredness. The samurai dojo was not just any room. It was a designated space, set apart from daily life, reserved exclusively for practice. When a warrior entered the dojo, he knew immediately that this was not a place for casual conversation, for eating meals, or for conducting ordinary business. The space itself communicated its purpose through its design and designation. This separation created what psychologists now call context-dependent memory. Our brains learn to associate specific environments with specific states of mind. When you always work in the same chair, your brain begins to enter work mode automatically when you sit there. When you always meditate in the same corner, that corner becomes a trigger for calm awareness. Most people make a critical mistake. They work from their couch, from their bed, from their kitchen table, from wherever happens to be convenient in the moment. This trains the brain that work can happen anywhere, which ironically makes it harder to focus anywhere. Your mind never knows whether it should be in work mode or rest mode, because the physical boundaries have been erased. Creating a modern dojo means establishing clear territorial boundaries. This does not require a separate room, though that is ideal. It could be a specific corner of a room, a particular chair, even a section of your dining table that becomes designated workspace. The key is consistency. This space is only for focused work. You do not scroll social media here. You do not watch videos here. You do not have casual phone conversations here. This is your dojo, your sacred space for deep practice. A friend of mine, a writer named Emiko, lives in a small apartment in Tokyo. She does not have a home office, but she has created what she calls her writing corner, a small desk facing a blank wall with a single lamp. She only sits at this desk when she is writing, never for email, never for browsing, only for the work that requires her full creative attention. She told me that now, whenever she sits in that chair, the words begin to flow almost immediately. Her body and mind have learned that this location means one thing: focused writing. The space itself has become her cue for entering the creative state. The third principle is sensory minimalism. Walk into a traditional dojo and you immediately notice the absence of sensory overload. The walls are often bare or contain minimal decoration. The lighting is usually soft and natural. There are no loud colors, no competing sounds, no strong smells except perhaps incense used deliberately to aid concentration. Every sensory element has been carefully considered. Compare this to the typical modern workspace. Bright fluorescent lights that cause subtle eye strain, a phone constantly buzzing with notifications, a computer screen with 17 browser tabs open, background music playing, the television on in another room, a scented candle burning, posters covering every wall. Each of these elements pulls a tiny fragment of your attention away from your primary task. Individually, they seem harmless. Collectively, they create death by 1,000 distractions. Creating sensory minimalism means becoming intentional about every element that enters your awareness during focused work. Start with sound. Can you work in silence? If not, what is the minimum sound you need? Some people focus best with white noise or instrumental music. Others need complete quiet. There is no right answer, only what serves your concentration. The key is to make a deliberate choice rather than passively accepting whatever sounds happen to be present. Next, consider light. Natural light is ideal when possible. It regulates your circadian rhythm, reduces eye strain, and improves mood. If you cannot access natural light, use warm, adjustable lighting that you can control. Avoid harsh overhead fluorescence that creates subtle but constant stress on your visual system. Then, examine digital distractions. This might be the most important sensory element to address. Your phone should not be visible during deep work. Not on silent, not face down on the desk, not visible. In another room is better. If you need it nearby, inside a drawer works. Your computer should display only what is necessary for your current task. Not email, not chat windows, not social media tabs waiting in the background, just the single application you need right now. The fourth principle is ritualization. The samurai did not simply walk into the dojo and begin practicing. There was always a ritual of entry, removing shoes, bowing to the space, perhaps a moment of meditation or breathing. These rituals were not superstition, they were psychological preparation. They signaled to the mind and body that ordinary consciousness was ending and heightened awareness was beginning. You can create simple but powerful entry rituals for your modern dojo. Perhaps you light a specific candle. Perhaps you make a particular cup of tea. Perhaps you take 3 deep breaths while standing at the threshold of your space. Perhaps you close your eyes and state your intention for the work session. These rituals might seem unnecessary, but they serve a crucial function. They create a psychological transition from the scattered state of daily life to the focused state of deep practice. A programmer I know has a ritual that takes less than 2 minutes. Before beginning each work session, he closes all applications on his computer. Then he opens only his code editor. Then he puts on his headphones, even if he is not playing music. Then he takes 3 slow breaths. Then he begins. He told me that this simple sequence has doubled his productivity, not because the ritual itself does anything magical, but because it consistently triggers his mind to enter a state of complete focus. Exit rituals are equally important, but often neglected. How you end a work session matters as much as how you begin it. The samurai did not simply stop practicing and walk out of the dojo. There was a ritual of closure, cleaning weapons, returning equipment to its place, a final bow. This created psychological completion and prevented the energy of practice from spilling into the rest of life. Your exit ritual might involve closing all digital files, writing a brief note about where you stopped and what comes next, tidying your physical space, and perhaps taking a moment to acknowledge what you accomplished. This ritualized ending prevents the mental clutter of unfinished business from following you through your day. The fifth and final principle is adaptive simplicity. A true dojo is not rigid. It adapts to the needs of the practice while maintaining its essential character. A space used for calligraphy looks different from a space used for sword practice, yet both embody the same core principles: intentionality, minimalism, and respect for the work. Your modern dojo should adapt to your specific needs while maintaining these core principles. If you are a visual artist, you need different tools than a writer. If you are a programmer, your setup differs from a musician's. But regardless of your discipline, the fundamentals remain. Remove the unnecessary, designate the space clearly, minimize sensory distractions, create entry and exit rituals. Let simplicity guide your choices. I have seen this principle work across remarkably different contexts. A software engineer who transformed a closet into a standing desk workspace with nothing but a monitor, keyboard, and single potted plant. A student who claimed one corner of her shared dorm room by hanging a simple curtain to create visual separation. A consultant who travels constantly, but creates a portable dojo by always working at the same type of location in each city. The window seat of quiet cafes, training her mind to focus in that consistent context, regardless of the changing city outside. The external environment you create becomes the internal environment you inhabit. A chaotic, cluttered, distraction-filled space creates a chaotic, cluttered, distraction-filled mind. A clear, intentional, purposefully simple space creates clarity, intention, and singular focus. Haruto, the samurai from our opening story, eventually left that empty room. He returned to his duties, but he carried the lesson of the dojo with him. Wherever he went, whatever he did, he created mental space around his tasks. He learned to bring the qualities of the physical dojo, emptiness, focus, intention, into every moment of his life. That is the ultimate goal of the Dojo Method. Not to create a perfect physical space, though that helps tremendously, but to develop the internal capacity to bring complete attention to whatever you do, wherever you are. However, developing that internal capacity begins with the external. Start with your environment, choose your space, clear it ruthlessly, designate it clearly, control the sensory elements, create your rituals. Do this not once, but consistently. Your dojo is not something you set up and forget. It is something you maintain through daily practice. Just as the samurai cleaned his dojo after each practice session, you must maintain the integrity of your focus space through continuous attention. And here is what you will discover. As your external space becomes simpler and more intentional, your internal space transforms as well. The quality of your work improves. The depth of your focus increases. The satisfaction you derive from your practice deepens, not because you have added anything, but because you have removed what was always in the way. The dojo has always been more than a physical location. It is a state of mind made manifest in space. Create that space, honor that space, practice in that space, and watch as the boundaries between your workspace and your consciousness begin to blur until you carry the dojo with you wherever you go. Write in the comments, "I will create my sacred space for focused work." Thank you for watching.